Hello and good afternoon. Is your ears still ringing? Because that's what's been happening, right? Too much of noise, too much of, all the boardrooms. I had a good privilege of sitting in one of the boardrooms from a multi-billion-dollar company. The mandate was very simple. We need a GenAI application in 3 months. And the real reason was that we need to bump our stock prices. And I'm talking about a multi-billion-dollar company. And that's the kind of short-sightedness that we've seen in terms of how we are building GenAI applications is quite startling, to be honest. My name is Kartik. I represent StatusNeo, and I lead the data and the AI initiatives for StatusNeo globally. The theme for my conversation here is that we need to kind of stop washing everything with generative AI, and how do we build at a GCC scale? Just to start off, right, GenAI washing, or what a better way would be GenAI white labeling, has been pretty prominent for 1.5 years now. It has worked in the short term. It has yielded good stock outputs. Tesla has been promising us that they'll give us an autonomous car for the last 5 years, and now we know where we are, right? So the need of the hour is not to, short sell on GenAI. GenAI is a longer horse. I truly believe after the internet, I think this is the thing that has happened in our lifetimes, and we should not be short selling GenAI. In terms of building at a GCC scale, I think we at StatusNeo have actually realized that it's more around how you're building the background and the architecture for all of the applications, and not the usage of the APIs from OpenAI or Grok, or fighting over whether Mistral is better or Grok is better, or the OpenAI is better. So the whole conversation has been around how do you build better knowledge graphs? How do you make sure that there is no deduplication in your knowledge? Because your LLM is as good as your data set. Eventually, at an enterprise level, we are not generating image. As you saw in the presentation, the prompt was like, 2 guys sitting in a cafe, but it would eventually show you 2 girls sitting somewhere near the TV, right? And we've all experienced this with the best of the models. I'm talking about these are outputs directly from ChatGPT, right? We have not manufactured anything, and we all have seen how images have panned out with ChatGPT, right? So what we are building at StatusNeo, and especially for very, very large organizations, is how do you build a generated or a federated platform for GenAI applications? How do you make sure that there is lesser duplication in terms of efforts, in terms of resources, in terms of how you're building your infrastructure? So for example, every team wants to, eventually build or, shine up in the organization by building GenAI use cases. Everybody is buying an API key, everybody is buying a resource, and how do you build build on top of it? The problem that we see there is that there is no standard layer of guardrails. So your standard guardrails could be, they should not be misogyny, they should not be racism. But what about, how your company is being perceived? So for example, I take example of, you can take any example, right? So for example, the largest consulting in the world, right? They would never want the LLM to say that, you guys suck, basically, right? Because that's what LLMs can do. That I think I was on this stage 6 months back, and I think I proved it on stage that if you prompt ChatGPT enough, it will tell me that I'm the Prime Minister of India. That's the problem that we have, right? So building that layer of guardrails. How do you have resources which are scalable across the board? We as developers, I'm a hardcore developer, right? I've been working in this for a long time, leading initiatives. How do we control response time of APIs? We cannot do that, right? All we need to do is build scalable platform at our end. Build a platform which multiple teams can use, can plug in with a centralized layer of sources, centralized layer of guardrails, and everybody can come in and start building their use case on top of it. One of the prime example that we just implemented there is around how multiple teams can get onboarded. Engineers with no background in GenAI. Eventually, at the end of the day, once you build this federated architecture, all you want your engineers to know is how to use APIs, and they know it really well. So they can basically come in, build their applications. We also work with Backstage. It's backstage.io by Spotify. which is a DevX platform, which directly integrates into your federated GenAI platform so that even if non-technical or business people are developing applications, your coding standards are still maintained. So that's point number one, right? We also wanted to build applications that solve problems beyond chatbots. So for one of the, I think, the leading car rental companies, we've been working to automate the entire legal process. So the contracting system and how you build contracts, how you sign contracts, how do you make sure that you can build contracts based on location, based on what I want to do, what exactly should be in my contract. The legal team should only be doing legal work. Right now, the legal team is building contracts, which is basically the job of an LLM. And these are some of the, the use cases that we have touched upon. I think in overall capacity, where we are headed is something that we don't want to, we don't want OpenAI to be the next Theranos and, Sam Altman to be the next Holmes. Basically, we want that we build at a scale where the resources can be distributed, the cost can be optimized, and eventually you can make sure that the CISO signs up on it. So in most scenarios, you would have a LLM application which is production ready, but until and unless it is built inside, if you can fine-tune it, if you can build it inside your own ecosystem, and your data is not moving to any server in the US, and you are not hallucinating, I think that's the only way where we can scale these applications at a GCC level. I think another experience that we encountered while in this journey has been how do we manage cost and injections. The guardrails, we've been building a lot on guardrails. We use NVIDIA Nemo, which is basically the gold standard of building guardrails. Nemo has helped us not only in putting in the strategic guardrails that we need, but also customizing the guardrails at scale. That's something that's going to be the big thing next, because as the number has been floating around since morning, right? Less than 20% of any of the POCs would ever see the day of flight for any of the customers, right? So the concept is pretty simple, right? If you travel with the leading airlines of the world, and now I think from a few days from now, if you want to change your meal from a chicken sandwich to a veg sandwich, you will be interacting with a chatbot that's built by us. If you use the largest telecom network across India, the technology would be by us. And all of these are GenAI powered that is coming out of the COE that we developed. Yeah, and that's about it. Thank you so much. That's my time.